The water molecule is arranged in a special way. Now look at the way the oxygen and the hydrogens are arranged. There's always an angle here. This angle is around 104 degrees. The way these atoms arranged here makes the distribution of electrons unequal. Now look, these are the electrons here. Those electrons are usually quite closer to the oxygen than they are to the hydrogen. Now, you know that electrons are negative. Now, this unequal sharing of electrons makes this oxygen here, makes it slightly negative. Look at this symbol I used for slight charges. It's like small delta sign. This indicates that this side of the water molecule is slightly negative just because those guys, those electrons here, are closer to the oxygen than they are to the hydrogens. This makes the hydrogens on the other side of the molecule, this makes them deficient, like slightly deficient of electrons. They're not like totally lost the electrons. The electrons are still shared here in the middle. There's still a covalent bond here, but they're unequal sharing. And these hydrogens on the other side of the molecule are slightly positive. So each one of them is slightly positive. This turns the water molecule into two sides. There's one side that is slightly negative, and there's one side that's slightly positive. And the entire molecule described this way is described as being a dipole. So di is two, pole means two sides. Basically, there's positive and negative sides of this molecule. Remember, we've described water as being a dipole. Now, this side is slightly negative, side is slightly positive because of the unequal sharing of electrons. But think about it this way. What if I've had many water molecules right next to each other? This oxygen is slightly negative, hydrogen nearby is slightly positive. So what would those two atoms from a distance, what would they do to each other? They will start attracting. When they attract, this attraction is quite weak, much weaker than the covalent bond found within the water molecule. But nonetheless, this weak attraction is quite significant because it helps to attract water molecules to each other. Think about it this way. Water always forms drops. Like wherever you splash water, there's always water molecules clumping to each other. This clumping of water molecules to each other is known as the hydrogen bond. So what's the hydrogen bond? It's a weak bond, yet it makes big difference because there's too many of them. Why is it called hydrogen bond? Obviously because it always involves hydrogen. It has to be hydrogen attached to an oxygen. It could also be, as we're going to see later on in syllabus, it could also be hydrogen attached to nitrogen, as we said, oxygen, or even hydrogen attached to fluorine. But we're not really interested in the fluorine part because we don't have fluorine in biology a lot. But think about it this way. Whenever hydrogen is attached to a nitrogen and oxygen, the hydrogen in one molecule will attract to an oxygen in a neighboring molecule. And this is known as the hydrogen bond. Hydrogen bonds are quite important for life in many ways. Now, look at this drawing here. This shows you how the water molecules in a drop, they're attached to each other. So look how the the molecules of water forms like a drop, and this drop has the waters attached to each other. Now, remember, hydrogen bonds attach the waters to each other, and this attraction of water molecules to each other is what we call this cohesion. So cohesion